if you're in that place, and I've been in that place where I just feel completely isolated and feel completely alone and sad about a situation, or even without a situation, I just feel sad in general, like no one really cares. And I'll go to friends and ask them for help. And the response I'll get, again, they're trying to be as kind as possible and to help, but they'll say like, well, are you praying enough? Are you reading your Bible enough? And of course, like, I hope I am, I think I am, but it kind of makes you start to wonder, like, is my being happy dependent on reading this book all the time?
Hey guys, welcome to The Current Christian, where we are connecting and encouraging disciples in leading fruitful lives and ministries. We are going to be doing an awesome video series talking about the topic of mental health and how you as a small group leader can better lead your group and how to better handle situations that may be dealing with the topic of mental health. And we have here special guest David, who has worked in the field of mental health for over several years now and has gone through his own journey and walk when dealing with mental health as well. So before we go into actually going over any content, I just want to do a little disclaimer for you guys. We are not prescribing or telling you to do anything in this video. This stuff is just coming from personal experience and from what we've learned and have witnessed over the years. And not only that, but if you guys are dealing with things that you feel like you need some more assistance in when it comes to mental health, please be sure to seek that out.
And by no means is anything I have, even though I'm in the field, nothing I'm saying is coming from a place of actual professional advice, but is coming from personal experience and stories of dealing with people who have struggles with mental health and mental illness.
So to jump right into the video, I think it'd be best to talk about what is mental health. How would you define it?
Sure, absolutely. For the purpose of this video, I would say mental health really pertains to the set of emotions and actions that we show or have when it comes to events in our lives. So we'll be talking a lot more about examples of that later on, as well as in the context of a small group. But for the purpose of this, it's the emotions and actions that you have, emotions and reactions that you have to events in your life.
So clearly there's like different types of emotional responses to things that we encounter in life. But prior to this video, we talked about acute symptoms and persistent symptoms when it comes to mental health. Can you kind of define what both of those things are?
Absolutely. So we're talking about a pretty wide spectrum. So with anything we deal with in life, events will cause some sort of response. So the example that we've talked about is if you wake up late, you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you show up late to work and you're kind of hard on yourself and that's making you feel sad. That has what would probably be considered an acute response. An acute response is a short-term reaction to an event in your life. So, a bit more of an intense one that I think we can agree on is, a loss of a loved one. An acute response to that would more than likely be sadness and grieving. And that's a completely understandable and healthy response. But the other part of that, the persistent or recurring symptoms, those come from places where you don't have as much of a reason to have that symptom. So there is an event tied to you becoming really sad or really down or lethargic, or you would feel it for an abnormal amount of time. So you have this difference between a normal expected response and a abnormal or a longer lasting response, or a response that may not have a cause that you can identify.
So from your own personal experience, can you kind of share a bit of your own story of how you've been going on this journey, kind of managing your own mental health?
Absolutely. So I've been dealing with depression myself since I was about 12 years old. Through that time, I've been through multiple different therapists, and I've had to learn how to manage my own social interactions as well as professional interactions in that light. So I've spent a lot of time learning about the different therapies and the different ways that we treat mental health. I also went to college to study psychology, ending up with a bachelor's. And by no means is any of the advice I can give you something that you could take from a therapist, but it has given me some really helpful insight. But what I've learned from that, my history growing up with it, and what I currently handle now, gives me some pretty significant insight when it comes to working in the field that I do, working with people who do struggle with pretty persistent and chronic mental health issues.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that like kind of just through our discussion, you guys will be able to watch this and kind of feel inspired or feel at least like a little better equipped with how to deal with issues or things that may come up related to mental health. Because if you're leading a small group or if you're in a ministry that involves being around people a lot, eventually you are going to encounter a time where either yourself or somebody else is going to go through a struggle. And not only that, but if you're hanging out with people long enough, you're eventually going to just like open up to one another. So someone may be going through something that they've been struggling with consistently, but now that they're more comfortable around you, they're going to open up and share that. So in a situation like that, let's say someone's like, you're in a small group and someone opens up, they're just really like kind of like laying it all out there. What are some like appropriate responses that you think as a small group leader that like we should do?
Sure. Well, the first thing you want to do is try to assess for yourself, what is your relationship to this person? How close are you? How deep is that relationship? Is this someone that you have a close connection to and can, be very candid with, be very open with? Or is this someone that you've maybe just been getting to know and you might not know a lot of their story to really have much input in their lives? Another big part of that is being open to just listening. A lot of times people do just want to be heard and want to vent their problems. Sometimes they don't need advice. A big part of that is being willing to also ask for advice or ask if a person needs advice. Sometimes they don't want to hear it and it could just frustrate them more. So always keep that in mind if someone is starting to open up in a small group, to be ready to listen to them more than just to respond.
I know like a big example of that is in the book of Job. You see that where Job's friends are just hanging out with him.
Oh yeah.
And like it says they didn't talk, they didn't do anything. They just sat there with Job as he was just feeling really down, and reasonably so with all the circumstances and things that were going on. But it wasn't until they started giving their opinions was Job starting to be like, this isn't helpful. Like I think at one point he literally says like, you guys are not helping me right now.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a perfect example. It's big that, these people were willing to just be around Job as he struggled through those things and to listen to his struggles and his hardships. And it's pretty telling also about the end when they finally do start to call him out on things. Job feels frustrated. He's like, I don't understand what you're saying because I'm not guilty of these things.
Yeah. It's a good book. You gotta read it. If you didn't read it, you gotta read it. You gotta go in there and read that. But I guess like kind of on that topic of like talking about how like the Bible has kind of shown ways to deal with or be around people who are going through hard times, sadly, the church has not embodied that well. So with your experience and from what you've learned with like mental health, what are some like big myths that you feel like are still persistent today when it comes to mental health?
Sure. Some of the big stigmas I think that I've had to struggle with personally come from feeling like you are too weak or unable to be good enough or to be faithful enough to God. It is sometimes feeling like it's your fault that you aren't able to feel God's presence or aren't able to be happy. I feel like those are the big ones. And sometimes the outward perception of maybe people thinking that you're always a downer or that you're going to kind of ruin everyone's time or be, the party pooper in the group. But all these things are myths that we kind of put on ourselves and is oftentimes maybe not even seen from the other side.
I think there's like another thing too of like when you're saying like it's my fault for feeling disconnected from God.
Yeah.
Another big thing, like if you guys have encountered or heard about this thing of like the like prosperity gospel, where it's like yeah, you're in with God, everything is going right. Like it not only is that just not true, but it's so massively discouraging when things, not if, but like when things do go wrong. And churches, not every church, but there are some churches that will make it out to seem that the reasons why you are feeling a certain type of way is because it's because of whatever. I can't even think of like what excuses some churches could think of, but
Right. I mean, I can tell you a few. Like in my personal experience, like if you're in that place, and I've been in that place where I just feel completely isolated and feel completely alone and sad about a situation, or even without a situation, I just feel sad in general. Like no one really cares, and I'll go to friends and ask them for help, and the response I'll get, again, they're trying to be as kind as possible and to help, but they'll say like, "Well, are you praying enough? Are you reading your Bible enough?" And of course, like, I hope I am, I think I am, but it kind of makes you start to wonder, like, is my being happy dependent on reading this book all the time? And while, yeah, if you're in a bad mood and maybe reading the Bible gives you better perspective, of course, that can help. But sometimes that's not always the case, you know? Sometimes there is something outside of that you know, it can't just be fixed by praying it away or by reading the Bible. And the church's response most often when a person comes for help with mental health is to, have you tried praying about it? Have you tried reading your Bible? And it can sometimes be very, very painful for someone who's struggling with mental health to get that response from a church when they're just coming there to look for help.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, I know David, with writing the Psalms, he talks about how he reads, he meditates on the Word every day, like multiple times a day. Not only that, he wrote all of Psalms. So you go through Psalms, you see there's these highs and there's these lows, and it's written by a guy who is known for seeking after God's own heart. He's known for studying and meditating on the Bible every day, yet he still has these super low points.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're telling me I gotta study the Bible more than David did?
A good thing to remember is that there are healthy responses to events in our lives.
Yeah. So like it's not that the Bible will necessarily like cure feelings of anxiety and depression, but it does show you like healthy responses when you're in a state of anxiety and in a state of feeling depressed.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. It's really powerful to understand that too, and I like that you brought up David, because he absolutely has helped me to feel not so weird or isolated in the church for feeling sad. I mean, there's a whole section, Psalm, I think 41, 42, and 43. He has these 3 Psalms that are just painful to read because he is so distressed. And it really normalizes that feeling that we will go through tragedies, we will go through hardships, and it's okay to feel sad. And better yet, it's okay to bring that to God in an honest way. You know, we don't have to try and fake being happy or fake, you know, doing the right thing. Sometimes it's that honest response to a life event you're going through.
I hope you guys were able to get some really useful information out of this video. If you are going through some very serious mental health struggles, or there's someone in your group who's going through some serious mental health struggles, don't hesitate to seek some more professional advice and assistance through this. It's not something that you want to mess around with or act like you know everything about. Clearly, we said earlier on, we're no experts in this, but we wanted to at least start a dialogue in it. And we're going to have some more videos coming up talking about specifically anxiety, depression, and then also how you can kind of like recognize the limits of how to deal with mental health specifically. Because in this one, we didn't really talk about how to actively deal with mental health in your small group, but we will be doing so in a future video. So if you like this one, please do like the video and subscribe. And I also want to know, are you currently leading a small group, or are you in a small group? If so, have you gotten to the point where you guys are opening up about these deep emotional areas of your life? If so, yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to get a discussion going. Thanks for watching. I'd also like to thank our community supporters over on Patreon. This video would not be made possible without you. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.